Hello everybody, welcome back to this video. Today we are going to do a sew and tell. I feel like I haven't done one of these in so long because if you know me, you know that while I love sewing and crafting, I am quite a slow sewist. Everything just feels like it takes forever, and I get all excited, you know, make plans and stuff between the tracing of the pattern, sourcing the fabric, the cutting, all that stuff, and getting to the end of a finished garment. I lose momentum along the way. I don't know if you are the same with some of your hobbies. You know, while you do like it, sometimes the process just takes so long and you don't have it in you to push through to the finish line. However, today I have accumulated a few pieces that I'm going to show you which are finished and look, I think, decent. But before we get on there, I do want to, since we are in the video, personally talk to you and thank you for checking out my coffee account. This is kind of new. I mentioned it at the start of summer that I was gonna just try it and see what happens, and quite a number of you have been so kind to buy me a coffee on my coffee account. Essentially, it's a platform very similar to Patreon, if you're familiar with that. Your support comes directly to me instead of the middle companies and platforms taking a cut, which is a whole nother story altogether. Let's just say I don't have it in me to figure out or investigate or fight or keep up with the YouTube algorithms. I really just want to make content that it seems fun and I enjoy, and hope that you all will enjoy it as well. So for those of you who just simply watch my videos, to those who rate it a thumbs up, leave a comment, check out my coffee account, buy me a coffee, thank you so much. All right, let's talk sewing. Let's start here actually with this dress. Now this fabric is courtesy of Minerva.com. I am part of their, what do they call themselves now? It used to be the Makers Club, Makers something. Essentially, they're really kind to let us choose fabrics and make things into whatever we want in exchange for a blog post on their site. I haven't put up the post for this yet, but I've just taken my photographs for them because I've only just finished this dress. The fabric, can we just say, is adorable. Hopefully Editing Jerry would have figured out putting in some close-up shots and things like that. I'm just gonna sit here so we're don't get things too messy from moving the camera around. But this fabric, adorable. Somehow it has a very Nordic vibe to it, like a Nordic Scandi type of vibe. It's bunnies. The fabric is called Leaping Hares. It's a cotton poplin. So if you think about your classic men's dress shirt, that type of fabric is usually, most of the time, a cotton poplin. So it is 100% cotton, but it's woven very tightly. It's often on the lighter weight side. It has a crisp hand. It has some structure to it. It's very easy to sew, so that's good. You could equate it a little bit to quilting cotton if you're a quilter. But anyways, I just fell in love with the print of this. However, I'm even more excited about this dress because I think this is one of the few dresses or any project that I've made in which I went okay, I'm gonna take some creative liberties and make some tweaks, and it came out good, and this felt really done and really professional and to my expectation. Now, being total type A with high expectations for everything, that is hard. Sometimes, you're your own worst critic, and I really scrutinize all the little details. But I think this one turned out good. So let me show you what it's about. Now the pattern itself is based off of the FIONA set. Now this came as part of a Simple Sewing magazine as a freebie sewing pattern. It is a pattern from SewGirl. Now it's in essence quite a simple dress. It's very roomy, very relaxed fit. This is usually not my silhouette, by the way, but these type of dresses have been trending for quite a while and are very popular in the sewing community. So I thought maybe let's just try it out and see what the hype is all about. The ease of this dress comes from the fact, number one, it's just literally just your bodice piece. The sleeves are elasticated into kind of this gathered look, and it has a simple closure back, no zippers, no like fussy fastenings. I'll talk about the back in a second. And then the rest of it is just like one large rectangle that you gather into the waistline. Now, as with most things, I am generally speaking too short in proportion to how these patterns are designed for their fit model. So I am 5'2" if you round up, and I just made some shortening and petite adjustments. Number one, I shortened the waistline a bit. It just felt like it sat in a funny place. Before I even put the skirt piece on, by the way, I actually think this, if I just did like a wider band along the hem here where the waistline is and left everything else added as it is, I think it would make a really cute top with some skinny jeans. It was really nice, like even before I put the bottom piece on. I was determined to make this dress though, so the bottom had to go on, but I would definitely make this again and into a top. The small alterations I made, other than raising the waistline, is to shorten the sleeves just by a bit. Again, you know, short arms, everything is a little too long for me. I think the gathering went quite well. I put in a thin elastic in here. It's not uncomfortable. You do want to make sure when you're doing the sleeve adjustments, there is such thing as an awkward spot. Like anything that hits at the elbow feels kind of weird. This still feels like a long sleeve, but I don't have to roll it up, so that's great there. I did not follow exactly the length as per the pattern, and actually asked you guys, I'm gonna put it up on Instagram, like what should I do in terms of little tweaks to this dress. Those of you wanted to see a shorter dress. However, when I started playing around with the skirt portion of it, I found, you know, if it was too short, I couldn't really wear it into the fall and winter, and I wanted to get as much mileage out of this dress as I could. So I tried to make it kind of an in-between length, but I'm not sold on whether or not this is like an awkward length for me. I feel like it is, especially without shoes. It feels a little awkward, but it's mostly going to be a house dress, so I think that is fine. Another detail I added is to put a little strip of fabric along the shoulder. This was just a leftover scrap of something that I had, and it was a nice contrasting color to it. Because this is quite a, I don't want to say it's a complex print, but it is a little busy. Highlighting these little shoulder details really breaks up the dress and lets you see it a bit better. I was really hoping to do something along the waist. I just didn't have enough scrap fabric to match this to do that along the waistline. So that was a no-go, but definitely something you could do if you were interested. I think it really highlights the design of this dress. Now this dress, I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot. And I think the cotton poplin was a good fit for this design. It has enough structure, so it doesn't just flop around everywhere, but it's not too structured that the dress isn't just sticking out super large and away from your body. It feels fairly comfortable. However, I did decide to line it just in the top body, not in the sleeve, so only this top body, front and back, is lined with just a simple white cotton fabric. I forget how useful it is to have those laying around, just to do little add-ons like this. Now it feels like I could wear this in the fall for sure and not be too cold, but also because this felt, I don't want to say thin, but it's thin enough that I was wondering if undergarments would be an issue. So I did line it and it feels very comfortable. I'm super glad that I did that. And that also meant I didn't have to deal with the facing in the bodice. So overall, super pleased with this. The last change I made was, instead of a loop and button, I did 2 straps and just tied it into a bow, which makes it so much easier. Well, I figured it seems easy to tie it up yourself. But of course, if you want to do like a loop, you know, or a hook and eye, feel free. Those are super easy adjustments. Otherwise, I'm quite pleased with this dress and feels really professional. Like in terms of, you know, a handmade thing, feel really good about this one. All right, let's talk house dress number 2. I'm calling them house dresses. I don't know. I feel like for me, they work more as a house dress. There is nothing wrong if you want to wear these guys outside. super cute. It just probably isn't my outside style, but I want to try these silhouettes. And so here's another similar but different dress. So same but different. This one is a readily available commercial pattern. This is McCalls M7948. I bought the digital version, by the way. A few of the McCalls and maybe the Butterick patterns are now available as digital downloads. They're not any cheaper than the paper pattern, which is like, if I have to print it myself, at least give me a discount. But you can just, get them, especially if you live like in Canada or somewhere where shipping and everything is just fussy. It's easier to just download and print it yourself if you have access to printers and stuff. Anyway, this dress, again, I feel very good about this. I think this was another very successful make. I think what I need to do is start choosing patterns that fit my skill level and not be too ambitious, right? And like, I should know this because I teach, but when it's yourself, you get very self-critical about stuff. This is made from a fabric that you may recognize. It is a cotton flannelette. Flannelette. I think that's how you say it. It's not true flannel. It's a little thinner. It's a little cheaper. This was kind of a practice dress for me because I wasn't sure how this pattern would go, but it turned out really great. I made a smaller size than what is intended based on my measurements from McCalls, but I looked at the finished garment measurements and I figured it probably would be okay, and it is just fine for me. I will say the neckline, neck opening is a little tight if you don't like that. I don't think this would have been a big difference whether I made my correct size based on their guide or that I made the smaller size. I think the neckline just is quite high up, and that may be a change I make if I make this dress again, which likely I will. I kind of combined a few of the views from this pattern. I did do the longer sleeve, but I added a little ruffle. This just came out of the wash, and as with most flannel fabrics, eventually they just get kind of rumpled, and it's part of the look, kind of like linen, so I didn't bother ironing it out. It was okay to do the little tiny baby ruffle when I was sewing, but I'm not gonna get them to be nice and neat ever again after they go through the wash a few times, just kind of bunch up. I think it's okay. It's a design feature. So I added little ruffles to both sides of the longer sleeve. The shoulder actually fits okay-ish. It's a little bit of a drop away from my natural shoulder point. I don't know if I just have narrower shoulders or whatever it is. It doesn't really matter too much. The front doesn't have any darts. So the previous dress, the FIONA set, did have a bust dart. This one did not. Now, I think I just fall on the edge of maybe needing an FBA in most patterns, but because this is slightly looser, it's fine. Like in the chest, and I have good range of movement, so I'm not bothered there. And then I made just a longer midi length version with as much fabric as I had, and I really wanted to make like a little ruffle on the bottom, so I made sure I kept enough fabric so I could do that. This is very like cottagecore, is that people call it, but I think it's just a nice house dress. It's comfortable, it's quite cozy. You can wear some tights underneath for the winter time and wear your fuzzy slippers. I think this is perfect. This fabric held up reasonably well for the fact it's quite cheap. Cheap fabric doesn't always mean it's poor quality, but there's generally some correlation there. It washes up fine. I bought another piece from the same store. I think these are from Fabricville. They're like $3.99 or like just under $5 Canadian a meter, and that is a great price, especially since you need about 3 meters at 4 to 4 inches wide for a dress like this. I don't think I made any other major alterations. Instead of gathers, I did pleats in the front just to control the volume a bit. I think gathers would be just a bit too much for me, although the previous dress had gathers and I didn't mind it. But if you do want a slimmer look, pleats will work just fine here. I was surprised at how well it fit in the bodice, despite the little shoulder being wider than mine, but otherwise I think this was great. Now the back is a hook and eye closure. which I'm not thrilled about. I think next time I might do a tie or do a popper. The hook and eye is hard to find when you are doing it by yourself, but you know, eventually you figure it out. Otherwise, I think this is also a really nice pattern that I will certainly go back to again, and maybe like eventually start making some small tweaks to it, and certainly would make this one again. Okay, next item. This is the Big Four version, collaboration if you will, of the Sew House 7 toaster sweater. I am a little bit confused about how this works, but essentially there seems to be two versions of the sweater floating around. One actually from Sew House 7. The design and the silhouette is very, very similar with only minor differences. And then there's the Simplicity pattern, which is what I have. Okay, Simplicity 8529, but the bottom actually says Sew House 7. So I'm not 100%. If you know, please let me know, but this is the one I bought because it was cheaper than buying the Sew House 7 toaster sweater. And I just want to try it out. I think the silhouettes are very, very similar. I did make some tweaks to this. So I made this pattern based on version B, which is a funnel neck and, you know, longer sleeves. And then in the pattern, it has a band, like a bottom hem band, but I made a little tweak to the band. I'll talk about that in a second. I do want to address the funnel neck. Okay, this is an all-in-one neck and facing, so it flips down into itself. When you're sewing and cutting it, it looks so weird, but just trust the process. I thought I was going to be a smarty pants and like sew the neck under a little differently than the instructions. The instructions from the pattern takes a little bit of thinking, but it comes out right. So what I'm saying is trust the process, because when I did it my way, it was fine, but then I realized I needed to tack down the facing or else it kept flipping up. So when I make this again, which I'm pretty sure I will, I'm going to do it by the book. So just do it by the book. Think about it, take it slow. You might need to do like a little sample to really see how it flips, but it works, and that is the better way to do it than what I did myself, MacGyvering it. So beyond that, how do we feel about the funnel neck? It's not really a turtleneck, so it just kind of grows from the shoulder up a little bit. I like the idea of scarves, but I don't like wearing them, especially for work, because they're fussy and they flop around everywhere. So this, I thought it would be great to keep your top half warm, and it really does. The fabric that I chose is from the clearance aisle. Super inexpensive. I want to say it's probably 95% cotton and 5% spandex. I think in the store it was called a cotton spandex rib, but it's not really an obvious rib. I think in other places they might call it an interlock fabric. It's a knit fabric, but it's a medium to slightly heavier weight. Like it has substance to it when you're holding it. It has great recovery, good stretch, good recovery. The length of the sleeves is exactly as by the pattern, and then I made the cuff a little longer so you can kind of like, you know, tuck yourself in like this, which I think just works. Now, I had a workout top which I really liked wearing, and it had this interesting split band detail right at the edge, or the you know, the serge part tends to flip up, but with that I think it's just fine. And I like that little detail. It just makes it, you know, different, and like it's those little different details I think makes this a very likable garment to wear. Otherwise it's very simple. I can see this being made as like a wardrobe staple for the fall and winter time, and just making a whole bunch of colors. The fabric is so inexpensive, and for how it performs, I think it's a total winner. It's thick enough to wear either on its own, or you could layer something like over on top of this, and it feels very comfortable just against bare skin. So I thought this was like a total win. You could even do thumb holes in the cuff so you have like absolute coziness, but altogether really simple. Drop shoulder. I'm not even sure if I'm gonna go and get the actual toaster sweater pattern from Sew House 7. I think this is a very close look and I'm fairly pleased with it. It doesn't go up too high so it doesn't get uncomfortable, and in this particular fabric it actually does a little draping, which I thought worked okay for me. So let me know what you think about this sweater top. All right, next item is something from Tilly and the Buttons. I know loads of you in the sewing community are big fans of Tilly patterns, especially because for the most part they are very beginner friendly. Now this is an item from her book, Make It Simple. It is the BERTHA cardigan, and she gives you a couple of variations on how you can sew this. I made quite a few tweaks to it. I can't remember if I sized down or not. I may have sized down one, or it might be the right one. I can't recall specifically. I'm usually a Tilly size 3, and the measurements are very close, if not exactly, to my current statistics or stats. Anyway, let's talk about this. Okay, if I do this, you can see the lines a bit better. It's like a raglan sleeve, but with some cutouts going this way. So in terms of how you put the sleeve in, it is very much like a raglan, so it's not a shoulder armsicle here. It goes like this way, which makes it very easy to construct. There is a bit of confusion, or I can see, you know, becoming confusing with how the pieces on the side go together. But if you just take it very slow and do it one step at a time and really double check your pattern and make sure you do all your notches and your markings, you should be okay. This turned out just fine. Couple of tweaks I made. I lengthened the sleeve cuff just because I had fabric and I, you know, wanted to give myself a little extra here. I did an extra wide band around the neckline, so it goes from the neckline all the way to the sides here. I did an extra wide band. That became a little bit of a problem around here, so I did end up tacking some of it down. I think the band was just too wide for the curvature and it turned out a little funky. So next time if I do this, I wouldn't, you know, I still may widen the band a little, but maybe not this wide. Another change I made was, this was quite a cropped style, or it's meant to be, but because I'm short and it would have been weird to change the body of it due to the way the panels worked, instead I lengthened it so it wasn't like hitting me at a weird spot, you know. So I made a really large, and this is black, so I know this is not helping, but I made a really long hem band here, which made this quite a bit longer. Now I'm still not sure if this silhouette is for me, but it might grow on me, and I think the practicality of it will make it work really well. Now as you can see, I try to snazz it up a bit with a little patch. So this guy is here just for fun. You could do some great color blocking with this sewing pattern. It gives you, you know, loads of design features to make that happen. This is in the same fabric actually as the Simplicity sweater you just saw in the last clip. So very versatile, the fabric. Again, I think it's probably called interlock. It's 95, you know, cotton, 5% spandex, and it's substantial. Like, it's a really beautiful winter, fall and winter weight fabric. Depending on where you live around the world, this would be a great throw-on piece. I will say that I feel like there's not quite enough in the back. So when I do this, even though the fabric is very stretchy, I feel the pull of it, you know. It just, I almost wonder if I need a little more in the back here. So when I do this, I don't feel like I'm pulling on the fabric. It's fine, like there's nothing wrong with the wear of it. I'm very aware that it seems to be needing like another ½ an inch or an inch in the back. That could be fairly easily done. I would just split the back into a seam and just add it, and then, you know, cut the fabric piece out as a whole piece. Just add a little in the back panel. That would be kind of my only thing with this. And otherwise, I'm just not sure if this silhouette is really for me. But It does very much remind me of a Aritzia. It's either Aritzia or Lululemon cardigan that everybody has. It has a, weirdly has a similar vibe to that, but it's very athleisure inspired kind of look. And you can make it in tons of different stretch fabrics. If you make it something a little heavier, you could totally even wear it as an outerwear jacket piece. If you've made the Bertha, let me know your thoughts on it. I'm not 100% won over by the silhouette, but I'm not against trying it again in a different fabric or a slightly different design tweak. Last thing to show you are actually a pair of pants. This is unusual, so I feel way more comfortable sewing tops, cardigans, jackets, well maybe not jackets, but you know, cardicoats, than pants. I love wearing pants. They're a very important part of my everyday wardrobe, my work wardrobe, and finding pants that fit off the rack is a pain, and you know it. So I always have these great pant aspirations, but I'm too scared to really get into fitting, and pants are one of those things that you really need to fit and spend a lot of time on fit, I think, for most people. So I end up making a lot of elastic waisted pants. So this came from the book Couterier Sewing. This is a Japanese sewing pattern book, and I made a pair of pants from, all my patterns are in here, from this page. Now it's quite it's a slimmer cut but still a relaxed silhouette. Okay, and I thought this would be like really good as a house pant, and if I liked it enough and it looked decent, I could maybe wear it out and about, you know, the grocery store, this and that. This fabric is again from Minerva as part of their makers network. So courtesy of Minerva, all opinions my own, you know the drill. This is how the pants turned out. I followed the instructions to a T, you guys. Like every single thing was exactly as the book had said. I did make some, not alterations, but I combined some of the sizes. Let me explain. Japanese sewing patterns and sewing pattern books tend to run quite small. They tend to run quite short as well, which the short part works for me because I'm only 5'2". But according to the measurements guide, I would fit a large, I believe. So width-wise, everywhere else, I made a large. But I did make sure whenever there was height differences to go by the small height, because I think extra small and small is a different, slightly different length, and then medium and large and extra large I think is a slightly longer length, and I didn't need a longer length, I needed the shorter one. So those are kind of the sizing changes I made. This fabric is called a wool suiting. It feels much more like a cotton poplin, and it's very crisp. It bounces back a little bit weirdly when you're trying to press it, so it doesn't always hold a press super well as you're sewing. But you know, it goes through the sewing machine just fine. You don't need anything fancy. I love the design of these slant pockets. I love slant pockets. I think they look really nice and chic. I'm not sure about the fit, you guys, and I can't decide if it's because I made it in this particular fabric, or it's the style of these pants that don't fit me, or I need to do more tweaking. Something about the thighs and the bum just feels a little off, and I'm not with it, and I can't tell why. It still runs a bit long on me. Everything else, again, like I said, I made exactly to the book, like by the book. And this is how these turned out. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep these. I have really written my blog post on them. I will link it down below if you're interested for more, you know, details and my thoughts on the pattern and the fabric. I like the overall look from afar. I'm just not sure if it's the right fit on my body. So you guys let me know what you think. and or if you think I should give it another go. It fits widely roomy at the hip, kind of, and then it's just, I don't know, the combination is weird. I don't know why. You let me know your thoughts when you see these pants on. I almost wonder if it's also the fabric and the way it drapes on me. I do have a few pant patterns which are not elastic. They're like full zip with a waist and everything. I can't commit to the struggle, and I know it will be a struggle. I just haven't committed to the struggle of knowing how long it would take to figure out the fit. I know if I figured it out, I would just have a go-to pair of pants, right? But it just seems like a big step and quite scary. So I don't know if I'm ready for sewing real pants, but I love pants. So there's that. And there's this pair of pants. Not a whole lot to say about them. So that is all for our sew and tell video for the day. It turned out a little lengthier than I anticipated. I find with each garment, I just, you know, have a good amount to say, and it's like a 5-minute chunk per item. I hope you enjoyed this. Either way, showing you some of the wins and some of the not so hot projects. But you know, that is part of the making process, whether you are a maker of clothes, a maker of paintings, a maker of woodworking. Part of learning, right? And sometimes it's a little frustrating when it's one of your hobbies, you know, you want to just have fun, but sometimes the frustration doesn't feel fun. Do you ever feel like that? Let me know down below in the comments down there. If you're looking for links to any of the patterns that I've shown you, I will put all the links that are available in the information bar, so make sure you pop that section open and check out all the details. I'd love to know what you think about the items I made, which ones are your favorites, any suggestions, ideas. Is there anything that you've seen that you're like, hey, you would love this? Leave all those down below for me as well. Until next time, I'm usually hanging around Instagram, so find me over there, and I will see you in our next video. Bye everybody.